Welcome to Views from the Top, the podcast from Alma Partners. I'm Andrew Wheatley, and I lead our cloud and data services business. And here with me today is Fernando Herrera. Welcome.
Thanks, Andrew.
Fernando, you've had a fantastic career to date, building up Nordcloud, the sale to IBM, and now the new build-up of Firemind. Maybe we start with the Nordcloud story. Maybe tell us a little bit about what Nordcloud was doing and the inspiration for starting the business.
Sure. So Nordcloud was an early cloud pioneer. So we were a cloud native company. We started it in 2011. It's funny how Nordcloud got started, right? So if you think about it, everybody remembers when the iPhone was launched, but AWS was launched a year earlier.
Yes.
And games and the public cloud are like a match made in heaven. So games, when they're very popular, they need a lot of compute. When they're not popular, they need none. So I was trying to figure out how to host this gaming service, and it just seemed obvious that Amazon was the place to do it. Mm-hmm. But back in 2010, 2011, if you wanted to do that, you had to do it yourself. So couldn't find somebody to help me do that. So we got together and decided to start Nordcloud. And it was a great run. We first started helping R&D units manage their public cloud workloads and help them like run the cloud. Then we started helping the IT department get that shadow IT under control and help companies scale the public cloud usage. And then later on, we started helping them really operate and get the maximum benefit out of the cloud, right? And we did that journey with AWS, with Google, and with Microsoft.
And was the intention always to build the company that you built, or was it just you started off with this idea of facilitating for yourself? At what point did you know it was going to become a business and the success it became?
Well, it was very funny because I remember I was super frustrated. We couldn't find a partner to help us with AWS. And then the vision back then was, in retrospect, it was just very good because our view was that infrastructure was going to become programmable, mm-hmm. that the public cloud was going to be the way to operate, and that we were going to move from local data centers to these large platforms, that there was going to be more than one, and that then you would need not only software, but also services to help you do this. Mm-hmm. And that was the vision for Nordcloud from day one. What I was surprised is that when we first wrote the business plan, I really was of the view that we wouldn't have time to execute it. That this transformation would happen so fast that but actually it took a few years to get going. But when it got going, it compounded incredibly.
And you were bootstrapped from day one. Never really took external funding in.
We never did.
We'd be interested to hear your views on the challenges of the scale up. So with the tech or the people, leadership team, or maybe all of the above.
I think when you're bootstrapping a company, right, it's like you need to super think every decision because you don't have the latitude to make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
We were very lucky with Nordcloud because the model was very effective. So if you think about it, it was a hybrid. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a value-added reseller. It wasn't a pure consulting company, and it wasn't a pure managed services provider. So we would deploy consultants to our client. So the biggest cost there was like hiring people and when they were not at client, which is challenging when you grow very fast. Mm-hmm. But then it was balanced by the fact that those engagements were very much reoccurring, so they kept going. Then on managed services, these would convert to managed services that gave us a recurring revenue base. And on top of that, we would resell and optimize consumption on the public cloud, which would also help our cash flow. So the model really helped. I remember when we were starting Nordcloud, we discussed a lot that we wanted to be in a business that was like simple, difficult, and boring, and with a big recurring component.
Yeah.
And I think Nordcloud was very exciting. For me, but in theory, it sounds simple, but it was very difficult.
Yeah. And was it the technology thing, or the technology that enabled you to win, do you think? Was it, and that enabled you to price cheaper and win on that basis, but still serve enterprise clients? What was the special sauce?
I think we were just such a cloud native company. We had to make hard decisions at the beginning of what we wouldn't do. So we said no to business because it would have made us more of a hybrid player early on.
Hmm.
And if we would have been hybrid, which I think it's a good solution for many companies,
Sure.
but it would have not been the right solution for Nordcloud to deliver because we wanted to be able to automate as much as we could.
Yeah.
And we also wanted to, talent is so important. So the way we were approaching that was that we could try to find the best talent in the market, but a lot of the people that are very talented did not have the cloud skills they needed yet.
Hmm.
So we found a way to upskill them to this, right? So if we would have been doing a lot of things, that would have been much harder to do. But because we were just so much focused on just being a cloud native company, we could be very prescriptive about how we wanted to upskill and the type of profiles we wanted to upskill, and then what technology we deployed at the client.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
That's,
it was a combination of things.
that technology and automation and simplicity of approach always sort of stuck with me sort of through the deal. I think it was impressive. And then you got to the point of exit. So it'd be interested to hear your views on, from a personal perspective, almost as a founder, sort of the change in role, etc. How did that feel, and how did you manage that?
Well, I think first of all, I think IBM was a great home for Nordcloud. They were I didn't set up. It's funny, right? So I wasn't so exit focused. I just like stars aligned, and it was the right buyer for Nordcloud. And transitioning in, I was very lucky that I had a great team, and we had a great team from the start at Nordcloud. And they adapted well to the new environment. And then we
Yeah.
had our goal at the beginning was just to grow it, and which is what we did.
Yeah.
And for me, I if you want my totally if I think about this, I did not even when we exited the day after the deal, I was just very like shell shocked, I guess, because we had been going through such a long due diligence process.
Yes.
But also, like when I started working on it, it was just like I just continued working on it because the goal
Yeah.
was to grow it. So I only felt that I really was done with it when I stepped down. And that it was I didn't realize how until I did how a big part of everything I had been doing Nordcloud was, right. So
Yeah.
it was hard to say goodbye.
And with that goodbye, you started a new chapter with Firemind in the AI services space. AI obviously is the big theme at the moment that we're talking about, and in this whole IT services and data space, is the topic, I think. I'd love to hear your reflections on what you learned from the Nordcloud scale up to what you're now bringing to the Firemind scale up.
Yeah. So when I left Nordcloud, my plan was to just chill.
Didn't work.
It didn't work out, but it didn't work out because I could, when I was at Nordcloud, you could already see this was going to happen. So there was a point in time where before I left where the amount of compute being used for inference surpassed the amount of compute being used for training, and then you could see that like AI was going to start really coming into its own.
Super interesting.
And our thesis with Nordcloud always was that our goal was to help our clients improve their business on top of the world's best platforms. So once a company has been, and the public cloud being the world's best platform in Nordcloud's view. So when I stepped down from Nordcloud, the question is, okay, so we helped all these clients, move to the public cloud, right? So this new technology wave is coming. So companies that are on the cloud should be in a prime position to make use of this. And it was just too exciting of a technology wave to let pass.
Maybe it's a level set on what Firemind is doing today and your vision for the business.
Sure. So on the same context, right? So that's why we started an AI, started again in AI. Now, what Firemind does, we started looking at how do you help companies that are already on the cloud start making use of AI, right? And so Firemind is an AWS partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a partner with NVIDIA, and it's also a partner with a couple of the model providers. And what Firemind does is that it wants to help AI pioneers build great AI solutions, essentially. So we want to be a great place for people who want to build great stuff with AI.
Yep.
To be able to do so and provided through managed, scalable, fit-for-purpose solutions, which means we think that not only getting the outcomes with AI or proving that something is feasible, that's only like 10% of it. They need to ensure that this is viable so that you can scale it,
Yes.
and scale it consistently and at the right cost.
Mm-hmm.
And then how you do that is through fit for purpose solutions, right? So like big models are great for validation, but when you want to, I'll give you an example. So we have one engagement where we helped a customer transcribe all their client interactions from voice to text, and then use a large model to get strategic insights from it. Like, did agents stick to the script? Was a competitor mentioned? Was there a reason for churn, if there was churn or whatnot? So, but to get strategic insights from this client conversation. It worked fantastic. But as this got scaled out, it was very expensive. So the Firemind approach was that, okay, great, it works. So we'll help the client optimize and build fit for purpose solution for it using a smaller model, grounded and fine-tuned and distilled on this particular use case. And then we were able to reduce the cost by a seventh.
Really?
So as to a seventh.
And the same output.
The same output.
Yeah.
And then, but once that's in production, we need to ensure it keeps performing, right?
Yeah.
So that's part of what we do.
And that gives you a managed service offering, essentially.
Yeah, managed AI.
Managed AI, perfect. And I think that's a big shift that we've seen in the space from, you talked before about Nordcloud having managed services, professional services, and resale. How do you see that revenue model evolving in the new world of AI and agentic? Is that more IP centric? There's concepts like software as service coming up. Be interested to hear your views on revenue model evolution.
I think the revenue model is still it's still being defined, right? It's early days.
Yeah.
So some of it will be services as software, where you're delivering the same outputs you would deliver with a service, but you're doing it with software, and the client pays still for the output of what would have been a service before.
Yeah.
Some of it is recurring fees for managing something. Like in the traditional managed services, it's just that what you're managing is very different.
Yeah.
But there's also cases where we've been asked that, can you license a model?
And you're open to all different ways of engaging, I guess. It kind of depends on the commercial context of whether this is something that you're licensing to people or building one time and then managing for them. I guess there's a range of different configurations.
So the business model is still early days, right? But at the end, it will be a combination of outcomes, and those will be delivered either through a professional services model or a service as a software model, where we use AI to enhance the professional services output, but also through recurring fees in managing some of these workloads. Because managing these workloads is very different to how you managed AMS, say in the context of a Nordcloud. I think that the business model is still evolving. So for clients, one problem with AI is having cost certainty of the solutions you're building.
Yes.
Because until you build it and you start scaling it, you don't really know not only how it will perform, but how much it will cost.
Yes. And then when you scale it, does that cost scale accordingly? I guess
accordingly and predictably.
Yes, yes. And talk about your 1 + 1 = dog. I love this.
Oh yeah. So we were as we were discussing before this, right? So the fact is that a lot of these applications are they're non-deterministic.
Yeah.
And companies they're probabilistic, but companies want deterministic outcomes to their processes. So if you look at traditional AMS, it's like break fix, and it's like 1 + 1 will always be 1. It's just, is the calculator down or is the calculator not down?
Yeah.
So, to ensure that the calculator is on. but with this stuff, it might be that 1 + 1 sometimes equals dog, and then the question is, how do you deal with that, right? And that's where Firemind comes in with managed AI. So how do we help you build that golden truth and deal with data doubt and help you scale this reliably? Now, what's funny is that, on the other hand, AI ops, right? Which is, how do you use AI to manage IT operations? So we also embrace AI ops, because in order to create the cool thing with Firemind is, because we're starting from the beginning, it's AI native from the core.
Yeah.
So the question we posed ourselves when building managed AI is that, okay, cool, we're going to manage these AI applications, but can we use AI to help us build the IT operations around managing these AI applications? And it's pretty incredible, some of the efficiencies we've been able to get, to the point that I'm really wondering that, can we use that AI ops to address not only AI applications but more traditional AMS?
This is the full cloud services wrap, security applications, data, all wrapped in the
around
same.
in the same AI operations.
This changes everything, right, in terms of how IT services are delivered in the future.
Absolutely, and I think that that's why a lot of how the pricing works
Yeah.
and all of this is still in flux.
Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, that's you mentioned before about outcome-based pricing. In the past, that's been hard to do because measuring the outcomes and working out the kind of models around that was always difficult. Is that something that you're seeing more of? Are you doing more outcome-based pricing now?
Yeah, yeah, a lot of that. One of the reasons a lot of Firemind's work is like, well, it's kind of clearly defined outcomes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because so a lot of the focus on automation is or AI is on cost efficiency.
Yeah.
But you don't only get cost efficiency, you get more repeatability, brings also an increase in quality, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that then you can really, if you're able to do this repeatedly, you can also like be very much outcome focused because you can then be more predictable about what you're going to deliver.
And I think that sort of coming out of this and for our past conversations, you're getting much closer to the customer in terms of the outcomes and the use cases they're doing, and moving away in places from the sort of the core IT services layer, I think. So is that how you see it? You need to know your customers better. You need to know the solutions that the outcomes they're trying to drive much more closely.
In a way, because you need to help them ensure that there's a return on this AI investment, right?
Yeah.
And for example, one of the things we do now is we're very focused on helping get from zero to proof of concept in a matter of hours
Right. It's
instead
not
of
days, months,
not
it's
days,
hours
months, it's
now.
hours.
Yeah.
So, but then a big part of it is that then how do you move from that to a scalable, viable solution?
Yes.
When you're doing this type of stuff, we we began by thinking, okay, can we manage? The question became like, these are very vertical. They're very much focused on
Yes.
particular client problems of how they create value for their clients
Yes.
or gain efficiency in their processes. That's why we can discuss later workflows versus agents. But if we still if we stick to this, so then when you move it to managed, right? Then that in itself it's a big problem domain. And we set up this year to figure out how do we manage an AI application? Do we do it reliably? And we succeeded at doing that. And now the question is, can we manage an AI application that we didn't develop
Mm.
and help a client scale that successfully? And there, really, the value proposition is very horizontal because it's about how does a CIO or the IT piece of an organization help manage this family of AI applications that is just growing.
Hmm.
So, you have vertical, but also it's still IT needs to manage this.
Yeah. And these can be agentic applications, and they can talk to each other, and maybe just give some color as to how that
Well,
works.
you can have agentic applications but you can also have like, let's imagine you have that thing we talked earlier about how you get insights from client conversations. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily need to be agentic.
Yeah.
But it's done. It's scalable. You call it over and over and over again, and you still need to manage it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's agentic applications. There's single call AI applications, but also you have these workflows where you have all this stuff integrated to different systems, and how do you manage access to that? And I think one of the things we are seeing now is that thinking about your AI journey and how disregarding where you choose to start,
Mm-hmm.
focus about getting value from AI from day zero,
Yep.
and then growing that value versus trying to go for a case that requires a lot of capability and you end up with a lot of data foundation build before you can get that value, right?
A lot of clients are trying to build those data foundations, the pipelines, the platforms, the data lakes, and then build the AI on top. How much of that is sequential, and how much of that is iterative that you're evolving over time?
It's iterative from the point of view that you don't need to get it all done at the same time.
Mm.
But it's not sequential in a way. I think that you need to like, because the AI maturity in an organization can be different in different departments.
Yeah. Okay.
And it can be different in different according to different parts of their data estate.
Yes.
So I think the key is finding where you have something that's of sufficient volume,
hmm
but also you can get going fairly fast without getting stuck in a long data integration.
Time
Because
to
you want to
value.
get that learning,
Yeah, yeah, makes
but it's
perfect
also time to
sense.
learning.
Yeah, interesting. I've not heard that phrase before. How do you think of time to learning?
So if you think about like what an AI journey could look like, right? At the beginning, you're aspiring.
Mhm.
You're trying to figure out, okay, we believe that AI is something we want to do. There might be a step zero, which is I don't believe in AI. It's never going to happen.
hmm
Let's forget about that. But
Yeah.
let's assume at the beginning you're aspiring, and then the question is like, really, how do you build learning? And you might be from an organizational perspective. Take a year ago or 2 years ago, it was very much like moving to choose which model I'm going to put into the hands of some of our people to start trying to do something.
hmm
After you do that, after you aspire, you go into this place that what you're trying to do is to figure out one use case or two use cases to demonstrate some form of ROI.
Yes.
And then after that, you're moving to figure out how you scale this use case
Yeah.
and identify more.
Yes.
And as you do that, eventually what you want to figure out is how do you use AI to create value you couldn't create before. But to get there, you're trying to move the organization through this because this is a journey not only for IT,
Yes.
but it's also a journey for the business, but also a journey for the support functions. Take legal. So, and the models, it might be at the beginning, you're in like, we have whitelisted this model. At the end, it might be that there's some stuff that's blacklisted.
hmm
And they're also figuring out how we can expand the universe of what we can do with this. But that requires capability build.
Great.
So when I meant learning, I really meant organizational wide learning in
Yeah,
this
it makes sense.
context.
It goes back to that point about adoption and that being a key barrier.
Yeah.
And do you think there's certain verticals which are most ripe to take on AI at the moment and to adopt it and get the biggest gains from it? Are there certain sectors that you're spending time on? You know, there's a horizontal play and a vertical play here.
A lot of people are talking about anything that has to do with client interactions, right?
Yeah.
So customer service and so forth.
Yeah.
But a lot of the early talk is about, hey, how do we do this agentic support
hmm
and support have an agent that supports a human operator, or that the agent provides support. And then a lot of the savings go to how do I save on labor, but there's also savings on licenses. Because at the end, I think part of the interesting thing with this is that when you get this agentic workflows working and AI workflows working,
Yeah.
there's a lot of software you don't need anymore.
Interesting.
You need your data,
Yeah.
but all these interfaces and custom workloads you've been building before, you might not need them.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to get there overnight.
Yes.
But that's part of the lighthouse, right?
So in that kind of context, people talk a lot about SaaS disruption and a change to those kind of models with agents maybe replacing elements of the SaaS stack. How do you think about that?
I think that's the lighthouse. But if you go back, I think that the question is that for us to get there,
hmm
disregarding will that be 100% of it or 50% of it or 10% of it, you need that managed AI foundation. Because you're going to need to be able to manage these AI solutions, have observability for them, optimize them for cost, optimize them for security, and so forth.
Yeah.
Right. So I definitely think we're going to go towards that.
hmm
But in order to get there, you need to build that foundation. And I think that it makes no sense to stop and just focus on building the foundation. It's better to start, first like building that learning.
Yeah.
So and go from aspiring to adopting to finally adapting this AI for your needs.
And people are talking about agentic as the big new theme as part of that journey. How important is that to the overall piece, or is that more of a current interpretation of the technology which will evolve going forwards?
It will absolutely evolve. I think agentic is great, right? And there's going to be more protocols, not only MCP,
hmm
to help agents interact not only with each other, with us, and with the physical world, right? I can see a future where robots are just MCP endpoints. So like or
MCP,
similar.
that's the connection between the model and the
protocol,
data.
yeah, the model context protocol. If you think about it, this agentic AI, essentially, is AI agents like operating our systems, and eventually they could be operating a robot, or they could be interact with people, but they can interact with each other and so forth. So absolutely, but in the enterprise, I think a lot of you need workflows, and the outputs of those workflows, even if they're done by probabilistic applications, need to be deterministic.
Yes.
So agents definitely have a part in this, but there will be a lot of impact by just adding AI to your very deterministic workflows.
That makes sense. And what does this mean for the various ecosystems around there? I'm thinking about, of course, the hyperscalers, which obviously have a key part in the AI game, but also things like SAP and Oracle, and then you move across into the NVIDIA stack. That all these vendors have got different roles to play in that. How do you think that all evolves?
Well, I think the cloud is a fantastic place to build, and it will be a fantastic place to run this stuff. For some use cases, you will have them off the cloud. It might be because they need to be air gapped. It might be because of regulation. It might be for whatnot. Disregarding all the other systems, the center of gravity of any organization is the systems that produce the critical data for that organization to run. And I think disregarding is it agents, workflows, or whatever else it's next, it will be about AI interfacing with that data.
Okay.
And it might, and I say that because it might not be at the moment, it might be that your AI is using a human interface, but it might be in the future that it's just interfacing directly with the data model.
And with the incumbents who are running a lot of IT services, I'm thinking about some of the big players like Accenture or a Capgemini, etc. Where do they fit into the equation versus the nimble startups? How is the arms race going? Who has what at the moment?
At the end, I think the reason I wanted to work on Firemind as a project is because the fact that Firemind is AI native enables us to take really a radical view in terms of how, or a very opinionated view,
yes,
in how you build the most efficient way this managed AI solution, and how do you help clients show value from AI the fastest. So we're not hostage to a model where we need to find utilization or billability for a large workforce. It was the same with Nordcloud. I think one of the challenges for a lot of our competitors was that they were very heavily invested in data centers, whereas we were just really purely cloud native, and we wanted our clients to get maximum efficiency.
Yeah. Do you think some of the older players will be able to pivot into this new world? Because you can make an argument that every application needs to be rebuilt and the whole stack changes, or it could be more incremental than that. That the pivot, I think, is going to be greater than the cloud pivot. The potential is also greater on the back of that. How does that evolve?
I do think there's a lot of applications that need to be simplified. I think like what we'll go through is this maybe the great simplification.
Interesting.
But in order to get there, we need to, again, I think the key thing is that we're like increasing the complexity of the IT stack. So we're simplifying our software stack, but we're increasing the complexity of our IT estate. So take like managing an AI application, right? What happens when we need to update the model? How do we ensure that that model is performant now and performant tomorrow?
Maybe we talk about the future of AI services from here. It's super hard to predict how things evolve going forward. But what are you most excited about for the future of AI services?
So I find it like why I find this so exciting is because if you think about it now, we've invented a scribe, like a fantastic scribe, and we've been processing a lot of text. And then later on, we're going to start learning from video. We're going to start learning from audio. And we're already doing a lot of that, right? Even at Firemind, like we have done already client use cases where we analyze video and sound to help the client achieve whatever outcome. But the point is more data coming to these models. And then we're going to have robotics. We're going to have all these digital twins of stuff. So, or a simulation of the real world going in synthesis. So at the end, what we get is massive compounding, massive compounding of technological progress. No, so if you think about it, like what I'm the most excited about is the fact that first, AI keeps getting smarter. As we build the smaller models, we're going to have intelligence everywhere. Then what AI can process keeps increasing. So from being very good at text, like now we're like making massive like advances with images, video, and so forth, which means more stuff for the AI to learn as well. And eventually, what we want is to not only build a scribe like now, but really an engineer. And when we do that, we're going to get incredible compounding, where hopefully that lands us in a much better world. I'm an optimist.
Perfect. So, Fernando, I'd love to explore some of the use cases that you've been doing at Firemind around this technology, where you've seen the greatest customer benefit and those efficiencies. I'm conscious you're getting closer to the customer, where we can unpack a few interesting examples.
Yeah, so when you think about customer-facing applications, some of the things we've done, we work with the Premier League to use GenAI to go through their social media presence and see how people are interacting with their brand. I think that like the concept of, if you think about managing AI solutions, right, and managing the AI stack later, I think AI FinOps in itself will be interesting. So if you think about managing AI applications and managing them for cost,
Yes.
it will not only be about optimizing how you use, how you prompt and how you use tokens, right? So there was this thing that like just using the word please costs a lot of money because it's at the end compute. So how you optimize that, and then how do you select the right model, or how do you take that data to build a much smaller model that it's much more cost effective? I think eventually we're going to go beyond that in a way that how can we use AI to help us reduce licenses, right? And this brings us back to what is the impact of AI on your total IT estate.
Yes.
So that's some of the things that I think will help move the needle and help fund the AI journey. Because as you use AI to get cost savings, you can fuel that back to finding more use cases with AI. But in order to do that, you need a foundation and a process to manage this family of AI solutions. And you're going to buy some that are ready made, and some you're going to take and tailor, and some you're going to build, it depending on where in your organization you're deploying them.
And on that build piece, the sort of solutioning piece, how much are you using AI to drive that, and how big do you see the savings there?
So one of the things we are doing is using AI to support our delivery,
Yeah.
not only for efficiency, but also for consistency.
Interesting.
And we've seen some parts of it where we're getting like 70% cost savings versus the traditional way of doing it, or at least
Wow.
time savings.
Wow. What does this mean for the overall IT market spend? Are we going through a period of growth in overall spend on IT services, or actually does the spend level stay quite constant, but we just see a shift towards more AI-driven solutions and away from more costly, perhaps less efficient, more traditional solutions?
If you look at the whole IT cake, right, services is such a big part of it.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to have maybe a little bit of a rebalancing of what it is, but at the same time, we're going to need more compute.
Yeah.
So in net, it might keep growing.
And that grows sort of throughout the stack, because we've seen the big investments so far in AI, arguably in the physical layer, the infrastructure piece, which is coming through. Are we now going to see a wave of app building, of data usage, of those end cases? Is that often we see that as a bigger market than the hardware market initially? Are we coming to that world?
I think now, like, my view on this is that we have built all this infrastructure, and now what we need is to start bringing the workloads to it. And what we're going to see is that the infrastructure you're going to use for training might not be the same infrastructure you're going to use for inference. So net, what does that mean for the total IT spend? It depends, because I think what's interesting now is that pretty much every single process can be an IT process, right? So what's the total IT penetration of your business? So it might be that we go to a very much higher level of penetration, but the cost won't grow proportionally to how IT driven your business becomes, or IT enabled.
Yeah, and that will be a fundamental reconfiguring of the workforce, right? Where people spend their time, and that the departments will change. In terms of the examples that you've been doing, where have you seen the biggest cost savings from departments, and where have you seen people investing perhaps more?
So I'll give you an example. So we work with the legal department of a major bank to help generalist counsel address problems that would normally be addressed by specialist counsel. And this didn't only achieve savings, but it also enabled higher efficiency, because many times we have a shortage of these specialists and they turn to be the bottleneck, right? And that's something we're seeing even in the way we work at Firemind. So some stuff that's been very constrained because we have limited amount of experts that can do that, when we AI enable our processes, we can get our guys to solve more
and do more. And we've talked a long time about the 10x engineer, as people have become more and more skilled and more capable. Are we talking about a 100x engineer now, or are we talking about some companies having 3 world-class engineers and building billion-dollar businesses? How do you see that evolve?
What I think the question is what is the role, right? So are you more of an integrator then? Is the role of the engineer like more rather than just building? Is it more about coordinating the build? I think we will need specialist engineers for a long time.
Yeah.
But they definitely, can they do 10x? Probably they can do more.
Yeah.
And not only can they do more, they can do stuff that they could have never done before, because you know, take vibe coding, right?
Yes.
Why vibe coding is so fun is because you get instant feedback. So that iteration loop becomes just so much more efficient. So even there, you can go from 100x, because I'm not trying to convey, like, I can just show you and I can give feedback immediately, and the change happens immediately. But then moving that to production is a different topic, but like a problem in itself.
What are you most excited about for the future with Firemind?
About how we can, as AI continues evolving, how we can bring that acceleration into projects that our clients that really move the needle. And then how we can make our clients really able to scale this into services that have real impact. So, but just, we've been through this phase now where everybody's been so focused on showing what's feasible with these models. Now the big topic is that how do we get that deployed and make it really viable, so that we end up with better outcomes.
Yeah.
And that's really what we want to get done. So if you ask me what are the three things that I'm like thinking about with Firemind now, one is how can we systematically enable non-data scientists to create fit for purpose AI solutions, all the way to having smaller, more cost-effective models.
Yes.
Second, about how can we use AI to deliver better outcomes for our clients. And third, how do we ensure that whatever we build is something that our clients can trust and that it's reliable? And even if we didn't build it, how can we take an AI application and make it something you can deploy in a way that moves the needle for your business? So if we can solve those three things, it would be fantastic.
It's all about driving outcomes for clients in the most cost-effective way.
And reliably.
Feels like a good way to end the conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today, Fernando.
Thank you for having me.
I think it's been a really interesting view into what the future of AI looks like in the services space. And thank you for joining us for View from the Top, the Armor Partners podcast. I'm Andrew Wheatley, and my guest, Fernando Herrera. Thank you so much, and look out for the next podcast.